Murphy. On Sunday night, he called, he's with you in calling, he thinks that this deal was a major mistake. But then he had an interesting comment to the New York Times overnight where he said this: there is still a net good that comes from this, he said, noting that the December vote that Senate Republicans agreed to hold on extending the Obamacare tax credits will give Democrats another opportunity to spotlight their health care message. Quote, the silver lining of that agreement is that the issue doesn't disappear, he said. So could the cave in the near term turn into an advantage for Democrats in the long term?
Well, I think that we have to put a spotlight on the harm that's going to be done if these tax credits are not extended. So to the extent that Senator Murphy is saying that this is an opportunity for us once again to kind of exert pressure on to craft a package that extends the Obamacare tax credits, the answer is yes. However, it would be better, and my constituents say it would be much better if in the deal that we are voting on today, those tax credits were extended to begin with, and the president was supportive. The president doesn't appear to be interested in strengthening Obamacare. I was here for the first 4 years of his term where he attempted to repeal it 50 times, so it's hard to believe that he is interested in strengthening it now.
Your caucus is going to gain a member today. Adelita Grijalva will be sworn in after a long day, nearly 50 days. Once sworn in, she's expected to be the decisive 218th member to support an effort that you've been involved with to force a House vote on releasing all records related to Jeffrey Epstein. This comes just as a whistleblowers come forward to Congressman Jamie Raskin to claim that Ghislaine Maxwell is receiving some wild special treatment while in prison and is in the process of asking Trump to commute her sentence. You're on House Oversight, involved in getting the information from the Justice Department to release. Have you seen this whistleblower report? Is House Oversight going to do anything about the claims being made here?
I haven't seen it. I'm not surprised in the least. Ghislaine Maxwell is a liar. She's a convicted sex trafficker. She's going to do and say anything that she can to get a commutation of her sentence or even a pardon for Donald Trump. I think this only heightens the need to get the Epstein files produced so we can see and the American people can see what's in them. I met with the survivors of this child sex trafficking ring, some of the most compelling kind of testimony I've ever heard. And for their sake, to do justice to them, we have to get to the bottom of what's happened, and we have to prevent this from ever happening again as well.
Do you think that once she's sworn in that you will get that this is going to move forward, forcing this House vote?
I definitely think that the House vote will move forward. It will pass. Of course, then it goes to the Senate. And again, we have to see, are there Republicans willing to stand up and do the right thing and support this legislation? I don't know what's going to happen in the Senate. But what I do know is it puts more pressure on the White House to compel these files, which we very much want to see.
Congressman, thanks for coming in. I appreciate the time. Sarah?
All right. Yes, stranded and employees blindsided. A short-term rental company abruptly goes out of business, leaving travelers without a place to stay in just minutes to get out of their rooms. Also, weather whiplash. The East Coast shocked by record low temperatures, and now another big change is in the forecast. Plus, a police chase ending in a crash, a driver on the run slamming into a store. What led up to all this? Ahead.
You're in this to win a championship. Championships are won later.
Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before I get started, give all honor, and glory and power to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Wadash. I want to say double honors to our elders, our great apostles, great millstone, GMS, who rule well and teach well, being a great example in Israel. All right, man, the elect, I want to say peace and blessings. To the hope of the elect on the four corner, pushing the truth and sincerity, that great song. All right, it's your brother Ba, early morning stretch, another installment of radio station edification. All right, as we can see, what's going on in the news, they're speaking about, the government shutdown, which has become a headache. A lot of people not getting paid, a lot of people losing out. So you know what they're gonna cause. But they're trying to butter the people up, with the ifs and the maybes and the wins. So they're trying to hold off from the uproars and the chaos and the confusion that they're causing. You know, but we understand it's the plans of the Lord at the end of the day as concerning end time prophecy. All right, because guess what? Trouble gotta happen. Bad times gotta happen. Evil times got to happen. All right, and it's happening in the form of, you know, the so-called white man who is in power, you know, bringing the unrighteous decrees, the unrighteous laws. Matter of fact, let me grab a precept real quick before I turn the news station back up. This is Isaiah 10:1. It said, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees." Woe means destruction. All right, mean, hey, soon, all right, those that in power, all right, they work evil upon their beds. All right, guess what? The Lord gonna destroy them. But only he who will let, all right, as the Most High Yahweh allowing this devil to bring forth the unrighteous decree, the unrighteous laws. Why? Because of prophecy's sake. You see? So only he who let will let until he be what? Taken out of the way. Meaning he meet his point. He go to that bound. When Job 14:5, the Most High appointed him a bound that he cannot pass. So when he reached that mark, all right, then guess what? The Lord gonna cast him down, man. But he has to reach that mark first. Evil got to be at its all-time high, all right, before the Lord, all right, make the decision to end his world, man. All right, and we head to that time. Remember, Proverbs 16:4. The Most High Yahweh created all things for himself, yea, even the wicked, which is the Edomites that's in power for the day of evil, which the day of evil is fastly approaching. All right, and we seeing the climax, all right, what's gonna emerge, all the trouble, the danger, all right, that's gonna be poured out in the mix of America. All right, but it started with what? The unrighteous decrees. All right, so it said, woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees and that right grievousness which they have prescribed. All right, Trump, he own one. You know, you got the Senate, you got the Republican, you got the Democrat, they own one. All right, they put forth the unrighteous decrees. They prescribing, you know, this madness. You see? But sooner or later, it's going to affect everyone that's on the shores of Babylon the Great. All right? And that's the time that we're heading into, and that's the time that we want. All right? Because we understand this marked the downfall of our enemy, but it also marked the beginning of our rest. All right? The beginning of our rest. So let me turn this up real quick.
At CNN.com/subscription.
New this morning, a bankruptcy suddenly left thousands of travelers around the world with no place to stay. Sonder, a short-term rental company, abruptly collapsed as hotel giant Marriott terminated a licensing deal and cut ties with Sonder. Some guests had just minutes to pack up and get out of the hotel rooms that they had booked.
We just got evicted from our hotel here in Montreal. We have our suitcases. We're also on a live set of a movie show. It's so crazy. I can only just laugh because now we need to figure out what we have to do for the rest of the day because our hotel just went bankrupt.
What a mess. Sonder said it was immediately winding down operations and that it had struggled to align their booking system with Marriott's system, along with other issues that led to a, quote, sharp decline in revenue. Joining me now, Claire Fahey, travel reporter with the New York Times. What the heck? I don't think I've ever heard of something happening so quickly that you're literally telling people they have 15 minutes to get out of their rooms. What happened here?
Yeah, this seems sudden, of course. It wasn't as sudden as it may appear to guests. I think negotiations have been going on in the background for some time. But the second this deal ended with Marriott, Sonder felt there was no other option. They told guests in a statement they couldn't honor their reservations. Some guests were already midway through those reservations, and they had to get out. They had to get out by 11 a.m. in most cases. Checkout for some was noon, so it was quite a change in plans.
What happens now? these guests obviously are sort of left without any way to get compensated, I'm assuming. What happens going forward with all this?
So guests have, in most cases, been offered refunds that they are applying for, and in most cases it says it'll take 30 days for those to come through. But in the meantime, the guests who are in the middle of their reservations had to find their own lodging. I spoke to Juan Avalos Mendez, who is in Amsterdam, visiting his daughter for 12 days. He was only halfway through that trip, so it was up to him to find a cheap hotel. A lot of the people I've talked to have struggled to find comparable rates. Sonder was known for being affordable. And especially last minute, these hotel prices are much higher. And there are also a number of guests who had trips already planned, and those trips are now up in the air.
Have you ever heard of something happening to this quickly where you're still booking people, you know that there is the possibility of this, and then, you know, for travelers, this was like completely out of the blue?
So this summer, actually, in Manhattan, a hotel chain called Lux Urban did go under in a similar fashion, and guests who were both checking in and staying at the hotels were staying in ghost towns, essentially. No staff, no way to kind of get clean towels or anything like that, and also left in the lurch to find new accommodation.
Yeah, it is truly a mess when something like this happens to you. Is there any advice that you have for people who are booking things now and wondering, oh my gosh, what's next?
I think always research where you're staying. I don't think that would have helped too much in this situation. As you noted, it was very sudden. And potentially always have a backup plan when you're traveling, particularly abroad. Have somewhere where you think you might be able to stay if something like this were to happen. This also happens with airlines. They can go down in the middle of an itinerary, you know, suddenly you can't get your return flight. So I think be nimble when traveling as best as you can. But these things are quite rare, as you noted. So don't worry too much as well.
It is super frustrating to hear everyone say, like, we'll have other plans. You did have a plan. You had a hotel booking and a booking on a flight, and then it all went wrong. Claire Fahy, thank you so much for your reporting. I really do appreciate it. John?
Yeah, you got to remember, because, you know, what's happening, you know, dealing with these businesses, they falling because what's being set up is called CBDC, and it's going to the central bank digital currency. All right, and every market got to come up under that banner of a digital currency. That's why you got a lot of major store closing, a lot of major, like Macy's. You know what I'm saying? They closing. Macy's, shit. There's so many goddamn stores that's closing. Major stores. Ever since 2020, you know, it been a major decline, you know, on stores, and stores losing. They can't, you know what I'm saying, gain they momentum back, so to speak, for lack of words. All right, they down bad. All right, and then what's the cause of that? All right, the economy. You know, but it's still, what they got in place now is the central bank digital currency, because guess what? Everything is gonna go digital. So if the banking, all right, is not on tune or not in tune with, all right, the system, then guess what? They lose out. You know, that's what's happening, you know, with the, like say, that hotel. Everybody had to get out at a certain time. You know, they're just madness, but this is the cause of, this the effect. But I want to grab your precept, bro. Psalm 7 and 11. But this is Psalm 7 and 11. It said, the Most High judges the righteous. And that's what he's doing now. You know, we going through these small little trials and tribulations. You know, these little small hurdles that we got to jump over every now and then. This is how the Most High judging us. Because it's better to suffer for righteous doing than what? Than evil doing. All right? So the Most High is judging the righteous. Right? But he says, the Most High judges the righteous, and the Most High is angry with the wicked every day. But we understand that the wicked, all right, he got a set time to be destroyed. All right? He got a set time to be destroyed. And it says, and if he turn not, he will whet his sword, and that whet going to sharpen. All right? Because the so-called white man, he is ready to come down with that great wrath. Everything is already being set, all right, and put in place, all right? Therefore, anything come about as in chaos, he have the order, and his order will go into his sword, which go into the military, you know, the missiles. All right, remember, he just gave the army, or I think National Guards, or he just gave, I think that's the army, or the troops. He gave them the okay to treat, all right, American citizens, all right, like terrorists. You know, they actually got the okay to butt you aside the head with the gun. You know, by any means necessary to bring order, all right, and establish order. So this sword is wet. When W-H-E-T is going to sharpen. It's not wet like you get wet with water. All right, that means he's sharpening his sword, right? And it says, he have bent his bow and made it ready. And that's why you get Revelation 12 and 12, all right? As the devil coming down with great wrath, knowing that he had nothing but a short time, is ready. He's just waiting on the right time, the right crisis, all right? The right chaos to bring the hammer down, all right? And that's what's gonna start, all right, the day of trouble known as Jacob trouble, which we seen is already being sparked. All right, a spark turned to a what? It turned to a fire. Fire turned to a blaze. All right, and that blaze don't do number what? Spread. And it says, and he have also prepared for him the instrument of death. And what is the instrument of death? The thermonuclear missiles. All right, that's the instrument of death that the Most High have prepared for this devil. And it says he ordained his arrows against the what? Persecutors. And who the ones that being persecuted? The Israelites. But the arrows, all right, gonna be shot from one end of the earth to what? Babylon the Great. And it says, behold, he travailed with iniquity, all right? And he have conceived mischief and brought forth falsehood. And that's what the devil have done with his lies, his philosophies, his democracies. All right, he had brought forth falsehood, because everything that's set up, all right, these religions, all right, you got all these different religions, but guess what? It's a falsehood, because truly none of those religions bring you in the order of Yahweh Shema Shah. You know, none of them religions bring you to the understanding of the will of the Lord. None of those religions, those falsehoods. Because at the end of the day, only thing can protect you and shield you, all right, from the danger, all right, that's set to come is what? The Bible. All right, that's why I say none shall want her mate. When you go into Isaiah 20, all right, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. None of these shall fail. None shall want her mate. All right, because everything else outside the Bible is a falsehood. No protection, no hedge, no covering, no shield. You know, no understanding. Because there's one thing about it. If you have understanding, then you have rest. You have rest for your mind because you understand what's going on. You see what's going on. You know what's going on. So therefore, nothing will trouble you. And this is what's going to catch the majority of the minds of the people. They're going to be like a chicken with their head cut off. Why? Because they in falsehoods. You see, Islam not warning you and telling you of the coming and great and dreadful day of the Lord. Even with these Christians, these so-called pastors and preachers, they not warning and telling you of the coming and great and dreadful day of the Lord. Buddha, you know, all these different religions, you know, the Kemet, you know, they not warning and telling you, all right, of the coming and great and dreadful day of Yahweh Shema Shah. So guess what? It's a falsehood. All right? Let's go. They remind me of Jeremiah 9:6. You know, thy habitation is in the midst of the sea. But through the sea, they refuse to know the Lord Yahweh. Through what? Through the lies. All right? They've been pushed so long. So it says, behold, he travailed with iniquity. Everywhere he goes throughout the earth, they'll follow him. And he lying. All right? And he have conceived mischief and brought forth falsehood. You see, because a lot of people trust in this man, in this system. But guess what? It's going to show to be a falsehood. It said he had made a pit and digged it, right? He made the pit. He's setting up this charagma, which is the MOTB. He's setting it up. But guess what? He not knowing that it's for his destruction. All right? It's for his demise. You see? How ugly hell. He had made a pit and digged it, and is falling into the ditch which he made. You see that? So the Most High Yahweh got this devil in a fucking trick bag, man. All right, yeah, he got this system running. Yeah, he got plans for the New World Order. But guess what? It's for his destruction. Because what the Lord have said, he that live by the sword shall what? Shall die by the sword. And what was given to Esau Edom, all right, concerning his blessing, which is being played out now? The sword. You see that? This how, remember, the Most High Yahweh, get this through your head, discover, the Most High Yahweh is the ultimate Jake. Jake go back to the word Jacob. Jacob means supplanter. Yahweh means supplanter, like a trickster. All right? And that's the Most High Yahweh. He is the ultimate Jake. So he didn't set this devil up with a blessing, which was a curse. All right? Because the same blessing that this devil received, which is the sword, is going to be the same way the devil be taken out, and that's by the sword. That's to show you that this devil is Esau Edom, because no other nation have the ability and the capability to go throughout the whole earth, robbing and stealing and killing and destroying. All right? No other nation had that power but who? The Edomites. All right? The power that be. So it said he made a pit and digged it, and it's falling to the ditch which he made. And on a small level, think about the drugs and the guns and the violence. You know, think about that. The snares and the trap that he laid for us, all right, what brought us in more bondage, the crack era. You know, that was a heavy time. You know, the crack era, man, back in the late 80s. Cause you had the white stuff going back to the 70s and the 60s. But when they started to rock it up in the early 80s and the late 90s, oh man, it took our people down. You know, I heard I listened to a broadcast yesterday, and a man, he's 66 years old, and he said his wife, he in jail, but he said his wife is like 67, 68, and still cannot get off crack. To this day, she still cannot get off crack, man. And she's 68 years old. You know? But now you see, you know, the Edomites, these so-called white people, they sprung out. You know, because once cocaine was a white person drug. You know, but now they turned to all different types of drugs, but it was made for us. It was designed for us to keep us, you know, in a docile state of mind, to keep us from, you know, achieving. You know, that's what them drugs were put in place for. But now, just like I say, on a small level, they fall into that. So how much more these missiles they created to be the power of the earth with, that's what they're gonna be condemned and consumed by them same missiles. He digging a pit, but not knowing he digging it for himself. All right, let me show you that. This is Psalms 2. All right, and 1, it said, why do the heathen rage? And the people imagine a vain thing. That vain thing is that New World Order, that charagma. All right, which we see being put in place, but it's vain. All right, let's see what vain means. Let's see what vain means. Because it said it's vain. I should get in the blue letter, but this is vain in the etymology. It said devoid of real value. You see? It's not real. It's not gonna hold up. All right? Him creating this charagma, him thinking that he gonna be the continue, like I say, it's in their mind and their heart, that their houses shall continue forever. So with this charagma, he think he gonna live forever. He think he gonna survive. Right? But the Lord just said it's a vain thing. All right? Unprofitable. You see, worthless. The Lord's so cold. But in our eyes, this technology that this devil received, this shit amazing. You know, he actually created a fucking robot that can talk, that can move, that can dance, that can do karate. You know, that can sing. You know, some robots, you know, attracting feelings. You ever watch? Y'all ever seen Steve Urkel, Family Matters? It was one time on Steve Urkel on Family Matter that he created a robot. He created Urkel robot, and Urkel robot, he started liking Laura. You know, he started liking Laura, and then Steve started getting jealous. So Steve tried to put in the robot mind to not like Laura or to shut him off, and he couldn't be shut off. You know, I forgot what it took for him to kill the robot, but it was hard. But the robot had started to attract feelings. You know, but look, this devil had the technology and the mind to create these things, but it's all in vain because it's not profitable. All right, because guess what? The Lord coming to destroy him and the motherfucking robots. Him and everything else. Anything that left on the shores of America, Babylon the Great, will be burnt up and crisp. All right? So it says, unprofitable, worthless, inviolate, feeble, conceited, empty. You see? Void. This the devil's plan. The Lord said is in vain. So let's go back to it. It said, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? You see, the kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together. And that's going to what the Psalms, the 83rd chapter. Psalms 83rd chapter give you the rundown of our enemies consulting against one another to keep us as Israelites from being a nation. How do they do that? The crack, the drugs, the guns, the music, the TV shows, the movies, your job, the kids. You see, all that affect us from being a nation. Why? Because all that is tainted. You see, all that have no substance of love of the Lord. You know, now dealing with these kids in the school system, now they bring AI to the school system. Now they ain't gonna need no teachers. Why? Because the AI is gonna be teaching the students on the computer. See, AI is gonna take away a lot of people's jobs. What's gonna lead? What is gonna lead the people? Stuck like Chuck, you know. But guess what? At the end of the day, it's only but for a moment. All right, it's only but for a moment. Because in Job 20 it said when he think he about to fulfill his belly. All right. Guess what? Sudden destruction gonna come upon him. All right, simultaneously, like what happened in 1969, 1970. When he proclaimed to go to the moon, the spirit of light entered to the earth. Just like that. All right, so it's set in stone. When he think he got everything made and done with that charagma, what's gonna happen? The Lord gonna put the spirit on the nation to shoot missiles upon this bitch, man. And it's gonna happen what? Just like that. All right? Believe that. But this is who he let, much like this who letting it happen, the Most High Yahweh, like it said in 2 Thessalonians, only he who will let till he be taken out of the way. So the kings of the earth set themselves, Kun Jo Young, Vitamin Prue, just get some names, you know what I'm saying, Trump, all right, they the kings of the earth, they the rulers of the earth, take counsel together, all right, that's that round table, against the Lord Yahweh. You see that? Against the Lord. That's why you seeing that, you know, they been prepared for war, but they speaking about what? Space. All right, a divine intervention is coming into what? To earth. All right, so guess what they gonna do? They gonna fight against the outside force. We know who the outside force is. They the Lord. They the angels. They are defenders. Right? They are salvation vehicles. All right, but to Esau and the other nation, they the enemy. All right, against the Lord Yahweh and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. all right, which is the connection to Yahweh Shema Shai, and they trying to do it in a way of what we see, which is defiling the minds of the people, westernization, all right? But guess what the Lord said? He that sitteth in the heaven shall laugh. Who sitteth in the heaven? Who on the throne? The Most High Yahweh and his son, Yahweh Shai. All right, they laughing because the whole time this is a setup. All right, this was already declared from the beginning. Now we at the end, and we seeing it what? We seeing it unfold. We seeing it unravel. All right, he that sitteth in the heaven shall laugh. The Lord, all right, Yahweh Shema Shai shall have them in derision. You see, ultimate, they in the trick bag. The Most High is hardening their heart. He's blinding them from the fact, all right, of what's really at hand. Because at the end of the day, he gonna open their eyes up, and then they gonna see. All right, talk about that in Revelation 14. You know, woo. But yeah, that's it. But yeah, at the water, I'm gonna try to turn it up a little more, and then I end it. It's all good.
And blank here is one of the alleged victims of Jeffrey Epstein. A victim spent hours at my house with him being Trump. He has never once been mentioned. Now, again, we don't have the context surrounding that, Caitlin, but this kind of language.
Oh, yeah, Salakia. This is verse 5. It said, then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. And what is the Lord's wrath? The thermonuclear missiles. Remember, when you go before a judge, you know, your sentence is called a plea. All right? And that plea going to judge. In Isaiah 66:15, he said that by fire and by his sword will he plead without flesh. And we understand that's the wrath of the Lord. All right? And in verse 6, he said, and yet have I set my king upon the holy hill of Zion. And who is the king? It's speaking about Yahweh Shai. All right? He's going to be set up. He the one that's profitable, all right, to rule, all right, the kingdom of heaven, to rule on earth. It was never designed for these devils to rule forever. It was only them designed to bring evil and deceit. All right? That's what they were designed for. To bring evil and deceit on the earth, all right, to help further what prophecy, to get us to the end for what the kingdom of heaven to come. All right? Because remember, the scripture said in 2nd Esdras, let me grab it. It says, this is 2nd Esdras 4:29. It says, if therefore that which is sown be not turned upside down, right? What is sown? Evil. It said in the place that where evil is sown, pass not away. See that? Then cannot it come that is sown with good, right? So the evil is being sown in the earth. Now evil got to be taken out of the earth. So when the evil be taken out of the earth, what is sown with good is going to come, and that's the kingdom of heaven. But first, this place got to be taken out, right? The wicked was created for the day of evil. So now we at that time that evil finna be, you know, like, how can I put this? All right, so clear, you know, evil gonna be so clear in the earth that guess what? What's gonna be sown after that? The good. But this gotta be taken away first. All right, so with that, you know, Lord willing, y'all brothers and sisters edified. All right, next time, Shalom, Baraka Akim, and may the Lord continue to bless y'all morning. All right?